Hola, soy Paul Gleason, embajador de Irlanda en Chile, Perú y Ecuador, y quiero darles la bienvenida a nuestras entrevistas de St Brigid Day, donde cada año celebramos los éxitos de las mujeres irlandesas en una gran variedad de áreas. Y estamos encantados de tener hoy con nosotros a una de las empresarias irlandesas con más éxito en Chile para hablar de su notable carrera. Carole Tynan nació en el condado irlandés de Kildare. Fue a la escuela en Wicklow y estudió lengua, literatura y cultura francesas en la Sorbona de París. Sin embargo, acabaría viajando al mundo hispanohablante. Llegó a Sudamérica a mediados de los 90 y se incorporó a la empresa irlandesa Grafton Recruitment en Santiago en 1997. Carole se convertiría en directora general de Grafton en 2011 y hoy es dueña del 50% de la compañía. Carole, thank you for being with us and happy St Brigid's Day.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great you're here. You're from a part of Ireland that has a great connection with St Brigid as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and bred in a town called Monasterevin, which is approximately 7 minutes away from Kildare.
Yeah.
A town famous for St Brigid's Monastery.
Yes, of course.
At school, at National School, which is where I studied in Monasterevin, we made St Brigid's crosses every year from the reeds, and she was very much present in our education.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a part of Ireland, I suppose, we've been trying to share more of in recent years, and to use it especially to highlight the successes of Irish women like yourself, and also, I suppose, the journey we still have to go from a gender equality perspective as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start our interview by just asking you a little bit. You've been here in Chile, as I said, for more than 25 years now. What was the environment like for a woman in business, a woman business leader around the time you came to Chile?
Well, I arrived here in 1994, which was just when President Aylwin had left and President Frey took over. And in the wake of that, people were optimistic. They were very proud of what had been achieved. So that was just the general environment in the country. From a business point of view, I initially worked in a financial services company with a very traditional Chilean as my boss. And that was difficult. It was very formal. There was a lot of reverence to my boss. And then when my first baby was born, I left and joined Grafton in 1996. Grafton was just beginning in those days, and it was a breath of fresh air. My boss was from Belfast. The environment was much more relaxed, and we were very motivated, very motivated. People were very happy to work with multinational companies. There wasn't very much competition in the market in Chile in those days. And so we very quickly built up a good, solid client base and visibility of our brand in the market. That was basically it. But I did find very impacting was the speed at which business was done in Chile, or the lack of speed. Really, it was very slow. And I really think that a lot of that has to do with the use of the notary.
Yeah.
The notary service, which is still present here today, but in those days it was very impacting.
Sure, yeah, I can see that big difference even near our embassy here. We're surrounded by notaries. They're a big part of business life here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been back and forth to Ireland throughout your time here. How would you characterize the differences between the countries as places to do business, and especially for women in business?
Well, I'd like to start by responding about the similarities, really, because I find that women, Chilean women and Irish women, are very similar. They have a lot of traits in common. They're both very strong women and very hard-working women. And I think that the development of the business style in Chile is a little bit slower than it is in Ireland. I mean, if you think of some of the women in business in Ireland, you've got the women at the top of RTE, of Google, of many companies, whereas here they're still struggling, but they're getting there. They really are getting there. 38% of entrepreneurs in Chile are women. And then coming up before that stage is the education, and 54% of students in third level education are women. So I believe the future generations in Chile have a great future. I have great faith in that. But I think that in Ireland we've had the support that we needed before Chile.
Yeah. I mean, you have particular insights, I think, that other people might not have, because obviously you've been a leader in the area of recruitment and you're getting to work with different companies that perhaps in the past didn't have a very diverse hiring strategy. And now, thankfully, as you say, we're seeing more diversity in a number of sectors, but probably not all yet. I mean, do you still see a lot of unconscious bias when it comes to companies hiring in Santiago or in Chile or in your dealings internationally?
When we started here, or when I started here, there was a lot of bias, both conscious and unconscious, unfortunately. Over time, Chilean companies have flexibilized and they've realized that it's not getting them anywhere, basically, to continue along that line. I remember very well at the 1997, 1998, and this was a prominent multinational company in Chile. They asked me for a general manager secretary, and they asked me for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed lady with no children. Now, they wouldn't get away with that today. Things are dramatically improved. And in fact, there's still in the psyche, the Chilean psyche, there's still a certain amount of resistance to certain genders, mixed genders, etc. But in 2018, the government brought in legislation which obliges companies with more than 100 employees to have 1% of their employees as handicapped people, disabled people. And that's fantastic, and it's worked.
It's interesting you say that. Like that's one measure you see a clear product from a successful implementation of a good idea. Are there others? Like what advice would you give companies who say we've got a problem here and we want to be more diverse and we want more women leaders in our company? What advice would you give that kind of company about the best way to go about that?
First of all, they have to educate their staff, their internal staff, because there may be resistance at certain levels, maybe not in human resources area, but at certain other areas. So it has to come from within. They have to be educated. And then they have to trial and error. I mean, basically, there are some fantastic professionals in Chile, and female professionals. And once they employ them and other people see how well they're doing and the leadership they can bring to a company, then they will continue. But I do believe that it comes from education from within. If you look, for example, at the mining industry, there were very few women. I mean, very, very few women. But nowadays, they're increasing. There are a lot of females studying geology. And that's also a great example for other companies.
Very good. You are also as well one of the founder members of our new Ireland-Chile Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you think an organisation like that can contribute to business ties between our two countries.
Yeah, well, initially it's a big challenge because there is an enormous distance between our two countries. I think Irish people know quite a lot about Chile and vice versa. But from a business point of view, I believe that we can make a difference. I believe that how we're going to do that is to raise the visibility of the Chilean Chamber of Commerce. I've already spoken to several IT companies, Chilean IT companies, who are absolutely bowled over, really, with the idea of collaborating with Irish companies in the same field, because Ireland is well known for their expertise in that field. So people with contacts, making the right contacts, traveling, and educating, really making people know that we're out there and giving them concrete examples of what can be done.
Sure, absolutely. One final question, and we always ask this on St Brigid's Day, is for younger viewers or followers on our social media channels who might be interested in a career in the type of area you've been working in, who want to be business leaders in the future. What advice would you give to young people, and young women especially, who are interested in that as a future career?
Well, The closest example that I can think of is myself, my own experience. And I started off in financial services. I went from 1 to 3 positions in financial services. And I basically took those jobs because they were offered to me and because they paid well. But I wasn't particularly motivated. And then a very lovely coincidence for me is that Grafton Recruitment arrived in Chile. I went and they hired me, and I discovered the industry for me. I'm quite passionate about recruitment. And from there on, it makes it much easier. So what I would suggest to female graduates is that, and not necessarily graduates either, people who have technical studies, that they're patient at first, that they won't necessarily find their field for straight off, and that they should keep trying. They should keep trying until they find their area. But then on the other hand, I would say to them that there's no magic involved. They have to work hard.
Yeah.
They have to be prepared to work hard, and they will achieve great things.
Yeah, good advice. Find what you love and work hard at it. Carole, thank you very much. Happy St Brigid's Day. And to you, our viewers, happy St Brigid's Day as well. And we hope you enjoy all the videos that we've prepared for our social media channels, for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube account as well.